Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. Ariel here.
Cal here.
And today we're gonna do a reaction video. So I believe
we're gonna try to.
Yeah, Cal can kind of explain it what this video is about because I'm a little
so this is UK versus US culture explained. I guess we're gonna see if we learn anything about each other's culture and why we are the way we are.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump right into the video and
Yep.
Yeah, let's go.
See how it goes.
Press play.
Britain and America are like twins separated from birth. One was raised in fine aristocracy, and the other was abandoned at a gas station and told, good luck. These two great nations have dominated the world both economically, militarily, and culturally.
Everyone in Britain got in a big old boat, and we set sail, and we robbed, and this will sound far-fetched, everyone in the world.
What's having spawned from the same origins, they went off in their own two directions, becoming both very similar and very different.
Yo, we all are great. We all should think that we're great. There's no reason for you to not think that you're great.
I'm starting to get this feeling that I'm totally fucked. You know? Everything's fucked.
Today, we will analyse American versus British culture.
The American...
Let's pause right there because I feel like in the beginning of his video, he was like, I forgot what he said, but he was like, one was just dropped off at like a gas station or something like that. And I'm like, which one is he talking about?
The US, clearly.
Yeah. Because
we've had like, well, thousands of years of history.
And but America... it makes it seem like we're simple. Let's play the video before he gets in trouble.
The comic hero is a wisecracker who is above his material and who is above the idiots around him. You know that scene in Animal House where there's a fellow playing folk music on a guitar. John Belushi picks up the guitar and destroys it. And the cinema will not, because he just smashes it and then waggles his eyebrows at the camera. Everyone says, God, he's so great. Well, a British comedian would want to play the folk singer.
Comedy is a great way of revealing a culture's ideas. So American comedy and British comedy, they're very different. American comedies always tend to be built around the idea of like optimism and positivity.
Be curious, not judgmental.
To us, this is really cringy.
There's typically always the notion that things can get better. You can see this in the character Leslie Knope in Parks and Rec.
I can do it. I can crush him. I promise.
And typically, in an American comedy, the cool guy is the main character.
So you know how to take the reservation, you just don't know how to hold the reservation.
Now, let's compare that to British comedies. Typically, the idea in a British comedy is that life will always disappoint you.
We need to have a talk.
You finishing with me?
We weren't ever really.
Oh.
I see you not around, but here.
See you.
Secondly, you'll never make it in life. All your dreams and hopes and optimism is ultimately futile.
So one thing I will say is that I don't know about comedy, but I do prefer British shows because they're more realistic, whereas I feel like American shows like dramas or anything like that, they kind of tend to have really attractive people, which is not the average person.
Yeah, it's very superficial.
And yeah, it's superficial. And like, I think it also has happy endings, whereas British shows usually are more realistic. The people look real, like you can pass them in a supermarket. And also they have kind of depressing storylines, but I like that. The comedy, however, I think the reason why they're so like just negative about everything is the weather. Like it's raining all the time. It's gray all the time.
I'm hoping he hits on these points because there is a reason we're like that, and there is a reason Americans are like always. Not always. Because Americans can either be extremely positive or extremely negative. There's no like mid ground. Or there's not much of one. I feel like American comedy, and I don't know, maybe like you said, he'll touch on it. American comedy is more like in your face. Like it's like
apparently funny.
American
it's
shows
very...
to me like the canned laughter in the background to something that's just not funny, and it's like...
No, but even the jokes though, it's kind of like very obvious jokes. Whereas I feel like British jokes, it's like you have to think it through a little bit. It's subtle,
but that's what makes it funny,
it's dry.
Not everybody gets it.
Yeah, it's dry humor kind of. But let's see what he's gonna say.
Dream. You and I own this skyscraper office block on the South Bank. And above us, on top of the skyscraper, in 50-foot high neon lettering, are the initials of Trotters, independent traders.
Just above your head is the word tip.
Another idea that is shown is that you can always expect the worst thing to happen.
So, yeah. Right, thank you very much. Do you like it? Oh, so I put that on you. Brilliant. You want another beer? Was that my beer? Yeah. What? Do you want me to get the other? Yes.
And finally, the main character, the point of focus in a British comedy will typically be some awkward loser.
I like your glasses.
I'm afraid they're not for sale. Laugh all you want, they're not for sale.
So this leads us to our first key cultural difference. And that is American idealism versus British realism.
There we go.
Instead of me telling you this, I'm going to show you it through expressions. Americans will say things like this. Well, you know what they say. The sky's the limits. You miss 100% of the shots you don't
Why
take.
is he
Whereas
talking?
in Britain, we'll say things like, got hope for the best, but expect the worst, mate. We literally have a thing called Sod's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong.
Do you know what Sod's Law is?
No, what is that?
It's like what will go wrong, or what can go wrong will go wrong. And it's like, if something happens that you were hoping to not happen, it's like, well, Sod's Law. Like,
I can see the positives in both of those, like,
yeah,
kind of mottos
too.
or
I just don't like the American side
life.
to the British side seems naive. Like, ignoring things, not looking too deeply into stuff because it might create negativity or whatever.
But you guys are just so negative.
Brits will just focus on whatever's in front of them.
Like, you guys are so negative, though. Well, let's play.
Compared to an American, yeah.
Yeah,
but like,
maybe.
We do laugh and have fun, but Americans just don't get it and think we're talking depressive sort of stuff. But then again, we're all raised in our own environment. We find stuff funny, but typically it's a lot harder to make a Brit laugh than an American. But that's like, I think that's down to what our comedy is and our environments. I feel like it's much easier to make an American laugh than it is to make a Brit laugh. But
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly it is, but...
And then let's say you have a situation where something is looking good. You've got an opportunity. Americans will say, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Whereas we'll literally say, well, old boy, don't count your chickens before they hatch. And then finally, if you're in America and your whole life is going terribly, it's looking awful, Americans say, well, it's always darkest before dawn. In England, if everything's going well, we'll say, yeah, mate, but this is just the calm before the storm. So you might be wondering, why? Why do we have these very distinct attitude differences? Before we go any further with this video, cold turkey might be...
Oh, no. Let's skip past these adverts.
Yeah.
We ain't trying to advertise for nobody. Are we back on it?
Now stand aside. QR code and use the code Jimmy the Giant to get 10% off when you get your journey pack today. Anyway, back to the video.
Now stand aside, worthy adversary.
'Tis but a scratch.
A lot of the British attitude can really be pointed to our very long and brutal history. We've had tons of wars and plagues and religious upheavals. All of these things have kind of led to British people sort of having doubt and distrust into the future. Like, yeah, it might be going well now, but tomorrow a swarm of Belgians might come over and behead us. Understanding our history gives us this cautiousness to being too optimistic about the future. As well, you have to...
Yeah, I feel like we're a pretty cautious country in that sense. So, like, right now, we are worried about, you know, the future of Europe and the whole, I don't want to trigger anybody, but the whole, like, Russia-Ukraine thing is sort of happening on our border. So, like, we're pretty, like, edgy about what's going on with it. Whereas I feel like a lot of Americans can be, you know, not due to your geography, not be so up in arms about this kind of stuff, and can be more positive. Like, what's that going to be to? And like, even going back to like World War II, you didn't want to get into it until the Japanese ended up attacking and sort of forced you into it.
Yeah.
You were really reluctant to to make it your problem.
Yeah.
And I think that is sort of the nature of America, is like, just let them handle whatever. Why do we need
really?
to? Like...
I would say it's like, it depends. It depends on the scenario.
Because America loves to put its...
Yeah.
If you ever speak to American about politics...
Careful now.
Yeah, let's not bring politics into this.
Careful now.
I'm not going to say anything about each party or whatever. We're not going there. But like...
Yeah, but even talking shit about America, just careful.
Oh yeah, no, but like... If we're going to talk about, I don't know, Brexit or like something like that, an American would be like, oh, well, you should have done this. You should, if you would have voted this, you would have done this. And it's like, but if we say the same thing about what Americans should have done, they'd be like, well, you're not American, you should have no opinion. Like, that is something that's like, to me, is quite close-minded.
I feel like what he's trying to say here is like, basically, you guys are a little bit more cautious. But I think that can be a negative
It's
thing.
lessons learned, though. Like, we don't want to go into something and like the same thing happen again.
Yeah, but I think that can be kind of negative. And I think you even touched on this about how like a European mindset versus American mindset, and how Europeans are very like structured. Yeah. It's very, what I found personally about the UK is it's a very structured, and is that recording? Okay, guys, if you hear a different kind of audio, sorry, we're trying to like figure out our mics, and our mics probably went off for a little bit. But what I was basically saying is that like the European mindset and the American mindset are a little bit different. And what I found personally is that the UK, they're a little bit, I would say, structured. It's a more structured society than America, where I think you have more chances to mess up in America and still be successful, where I would say in the UK, it's not the case. And even just, you know, going off and being an entrepreneur, like, you know, it offers more opportunity to kind of do your own thing.
There's a YouTuber, like an MIT guy, I've forgotten what his name is.
We'll probably put the link down below of the video that he's talking about.
Like, I've completely forgotten my train of thought. He says pretty much, if you're to start a business in Europe, people are going to be like, oh, look out for the risks. You know, if it goes wrong, you could end up like losing your house or whatever. And then when it finally goes wrong, they'll be like, yeah, see, I told you so. Whereas in America, they're going to be like, yeah, you should try that. It might work out well for you. And then when it does, you know, work out or go wrong, if it goes wrong, they'll be like, well, you can always try again. And, you know, this doesn't judge you, or like you're not judged by this. And like, it's always like a more positive, well, it depends who you surround yourself with, really. But like, yeah, it's always like a push forward and like...
But yeah, even like education though, like, I don't know, and maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong, if I understand it wrong, but like, I feel like GCSEs like determine a lot, right? Yeah. Whereas in America, you can go to community college and for the first 2 years and then go off to like a really prestigious school or like a high-ranked school if you do well in community college. So say you were crap in like high school, that's not the end. And I feel like in the UK, like, it's a little bit harder to kind of get back on your feet. If you want to study a good
course, like if you want to be a doctor or something, you have to get A's.
Oh yeah, well, I feel like it's the same in the US.
Well, I guess it depends what job you want to go into, but like typically, the better your grades, the better prospects you're going to have.
But all in all, just saying that, like, you know, there are positives and negatives to both mindsets, essentially.
Combine the religious attitudes of the Church of England. The Church of England was very much a believer in the idea of original sin. The idea that humans have fallen from God, we're all inherently bad, although we do have the ability to be somewhat redeemed. This has engineered a sort of attitude of cautious optimism. We're not entirely 100% pessimists. All of this combined with the fact that our weather is pretty shit.
Rain, rain, rain. Us Brits endure it on 199 days of every year.
You could literally have a week of sunshine in England and think, you know
She's
what?
moving here soon.
What's weird is like, it's so ironic because like he said, I'm moving here soon and I live in Florida. And for those of you who don't know, Florida is known as a sunshine state. So I'm like moving from the sunshine state to a place where it rains like 199 days out the year. So should be fun. We'll see.
Let's go for a picnic with the family. And then because your dad showed some optimism in the weather, God will smite you with a torrential downpour for the next month. And so this general attitude can be completely contrasted with American optimism. And that stems from, ultimately, if you're the type of person to leave Britain, a established nation that has infrastructure, etc., hop on a boat, travel for weeks, months across uncharted waters to arrive on uncharted lands, to do that, you need at least an ounce of optimism.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Lands in the distance, see? Mate, you've been saying that for the last 3 fucking icebergs. Oh, look, yeah, look, can you see it? Another fucking iceberg. I'm tired of this. Fucking. And then, so after discovering this new land, which was a crazy thing to go and do, America then went through 2 great awakenings. I don't know what happened in the first one, if they just hit snooze or something, but the first great awakening was in 1730 to 1740.
Yeah, I have no idea what this is.
The second one in 1795 all the way up to 1835. So what happened in this was that the religious attitudes of America had evolved.
Can you briefly explain what the awakenings are?
Don't ask me anything about history.
Okay, fair enough.
Let's listen to him.
New one.
I love the way he said hit snooze though. That's funny.
Ideas around like self-improvement. The idea that everyone has the ability to shape their own destiny, their own future. Humans can be better. They can improve society. They can make and create things that make the world better.
Everybody, I know you can believe in yourself.
They had strong convictions around the importance of working hard, as well as very pragmatic attitudes, the idea that things should be done well and efficiently. These last 2 led to a very strong cultural focus on capitalism and efficiency in business, which all of this manifested itself in the idea of the American dream.
The American dream is just the ability to achieve. Anybody can do it, but you're not just going to get it because you want it. You got to be willing to work hard. You got to apply a lot of hard work. You got to apply faith. You got to apply persistence. You've got to never, ever give up.
So basically, the idea of the American dream is that any old piece of shit, old Bob who still lives at home with his parents, 40 years old, anyone can go and do anything they want to in life.
I feel like we were just talking about this, kind of like the difference, but
yeah.
What I will say is that I guess in our generation, like I think a lot of people think that the American dream is bullshit. So I don't know how our generation and the younger generations feel about like that American dream, especially with student loans and the cost of living increasing. I think that's one of the negatives of capitalism is like things just keep increasing and wages are stagnant. So I don't know. I think the American dream might have changed, or does it exist at all anymore? But I will see what he has to say.
Americans are told they can become the next president of the United States. And they can. British people are told it won't happen to you. And they carry that. They carry that with them.
I know what's probably going through your head. You might hear that and think, fucking hell, why are Britons so pessimistic? I mean, we literally had the biggest empire on earth. Why are we so deflated? And so that leads us to a very core cultural difference between England and America, and that is class structure.
I was brought up in a poor family.
Just said that.
Really, we had nothing, really. If I could get in a position that some of them people in, I would like to be in it. These lords or ladies or peers, or you're talking about these them class of people.
The Curzon's family started with William the Conqueror.
In Britain, the idea of class and where you stand socially has been a very core part of our identity. Until very recently, as a Brit, your whole life was decided before you were born. These differences between the upper class and the working class has existed through most of British history. There's like this idea that the upper class are pure blood. They were like chosen by God. They had divine rights. They literally referred to themselves as blue-blooded. And they were much better than the grunts working the coal mines to power their beautiful machinery. And so there's always been this attitude in England of like judgment between the classes. The upper class and the working class hate each other. And class is interesting because it's not just defined by wealth.
We give dinner parties 2 or 3 times a week. This enables us to keep in touch with our wide circle of friends.
We give a wine and cheese do once a month. This enables us to do it on the cheap.
Her mother comes round Saturday nights and drinks my Guinness. This enables her to get drunk for nothing.
Class is much deeper than simply wealth. It's the accent you talk in, the way you behave, the schools that you're educated in. If you're from Cambridge School of Witchcraft and Wizardry versus the community college in Shittham, literally everything you did would be defined by class.
I think working class people in general feel this kind of thing weighing down upon them, and I can't put it into words of what it is. I think people watching this will understand that you feel it pushing you down all the time.
And so there's this understanding that there isn't much class mobility. If you are lower class, even if you got wealthy, you could never be upper class. There's no way. And so this kind of demoralisation spawned a attitude in British people that things can't really get that much better. A I'm always going to be judged from basically the background that I'm from. In America, as I explained with the American Dream, the attitude is that anyone can be anything. Americans love the idea of the rags to riches story, the underdog archetype that you see in films like Pursuit of Happiness or The Founder. Class does exist in America, but it is very different. You're probably going to see more things between North and South divides and racial divides. But I do, as a British person, quickly want to make a caveat. The British people have never had, like, outright defeatism. British people will try in life. They'll try very hard, but we just don't like to get our hopes up. We are optimistic, but just in a very cautious way. Like, Americans might aspire to be a millionaire CEO of a big tech startup, whilst British people will aspire to one day shop at Waitrose.
My wife likes to shop at Waitrose. It's the middle class option. People who shop at Waitrose, they like to drop it into conversation. Sorry I'm late, I was just at...
So which Waitrose? I kind of want to go there now. We're gonna put a picture of like what it looks like via Google somewhere.
Yeah, so there's like a hierarchy of shops. There's like you'd have the bottom like cheapest ones like Poundland, like B&M, and I mean these shops are still great for shopping for cheap stuff, but then like typically you'll find no, let me not say that. Like, I don't want to go into what types of people shop in each shop, but like
yeah,
like
just
in America,
say like
you have
there's
like
Poundland,
Walmart,
there's B&M,
and then you have like I don't know.
Would
like,
Tesco be the next one after Poundland and B&M?
So you'd have like Poundland, B&M, then it'd be I don't know. You have like corner shops and stuff as well, but like Spar and stuff. You'd and then going up again, you'd have like Sainsbury's, Asda, Tesco. They're all sort of in the same thing.
And then there's Waitrose.
Depends where you are in the country, but like you'll have Booths, Waitrose, like they're another level up. Everything's like far more expensive, but it's all like artisan. It's not all like that, but it's like
a lot of
straight from the farmer, like kind of food. It's not it's not like all shipped in from one big place.
Let's see.
So the explanation on the class system leads us to another point, which is politeness and expressiveness.
Love this.
Here's your food, good sir. What the fuck is that? Everything okay with the food? Oh yes, lovely, thank you. I would say British people...
This was literally us
afternoon
tea the other day.
Like, we went to afternoon tea, and we have it in a different video. I'll link it above if you guys want to check that out. But
after leaving, we'd taken photos and like a video, and it was like, just delete the day.
But it's so funny because we were just talking so much shit about how horrible the food was, and then the waiter comes up to us, and he asked Callum, everything was good, and he's like, yes, everything was all right.
Like, yeah, everything was fine. Like, I think you could tell in the tone of voice like that. I'm just like,
this is so true. Because
but...
if I was by myself, I probably would have like been honest. But since it was like you were speaking on behalf of both of us, like everything's good. We definitely should not have paid
full price, especially because we weren't even having the experience.
Yeah, but yeah, that's very true. Let's see.
What kind of overly aware of being rude and impolite, which has some benefits.
I think this annoys you about me.
We treat people really well. We hate to be awkward, and we like people to feel relaxed. But it can cause British people to take way too much shit and not stand up for themselves.
I slap you and you want me to hit you on the other cheek?
Americans will tolerate less bullshit, which is a good thing, but then sometimes they can be a bit rude and a bit overly confrontational. I have waited exactly 5 minutes. It is a Big Mac. How long do you need? This difference when it comes to being polite probably stems from the British Reserve and American individualism. British people are very reserved. Typically, in public, we all sit like this, and we're all very quiet, and we don't laugh too loud, and we try and be really polite. And this can stem from the Victorian era. There was very strict social rules over behaviour, dress, the way you express yourself. It was very stern and rigid. The reason we tolerate so much shit is because we have the religious idea of turning the other cheek. As well, our probably over-awareness of people's personal space and being rude can probably stem from the fact that we live on a small island very closely together. We don't have a lot of space and we're all on top of each other. So we have a strong respect for people's personal space.
Okay.
And then, some of it is the fact that the upper class social attitudes probably trickled down to the working class, where it's always seen as being a lower class thing to speak loudly and have bad manners and be overly confrontational.
Yeah, so this goes on to like when we see Americans in a restaurant or something, and like typically Americans are very, very loud.
That reminds me of a story.
When we see Americans being loud and rowdy or whatever, we see them as like, oh God, there's Americans in the bar, like, or whatever it is, and it's so much louder, and like you'll play music out loud. And, I mean, I don't really care about that kind of stuff.
I think a lot of people think that. I think a lot of people think that.
I think Europeans think the same.
I remember being in Ireland, and there was an Australian who was in our group, and one of the American girls were like, well, what do you really think about Americans? And he was like, Americans, like, it's like when I'm in a coffee shop and an American is talking, it's like a mosquito buzzing in my ear. And like, I was shocked by how like truthful he was. But yeah, I guess our voices just
yeah, it's when you get loud, even you, like, it's like ear piercing. It's like, and I don't know how American guys put up with it, because it's like American. To be honest, you all sort of sound the same, the women and the men. Like there's a certain level of drone you have.
Oh my gosh, this is getting to the point where it's offensive.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's all fun and games. Like, there's no hard feelings behind it. But like, our English is like very like droney. Like it's like Whereas Americans is like much higher.
Oh my God! Don't try to mimic us. Let's play before you offend more people. We're putting it in. But before Callum offends more people, let's play.
Can you come back in, please?
We need to watch this.
Oh my God, this is well harassment. I'm going to take this to the Court of European Rights.
And so, British people have the attitude of a stiff upper lip, don't show emotion, and don't complain about your problems.
I love this video.
Well, that was fucking scary.
Whereas Americans, that is not the case.
All right, what country are we in? In the United States. You're goddamn right. You can't take a picture here. First Amendment.
Goddamn right.
You let the police officers. You let the police officers deal with that.
This is my right as much as it is yours. This is my land as much as it is yours.
To Americans,
okay,
I am
Karen.
important. I am the centre of the universe. After the Great Awakening, there was a strong focus on individualism. Emotionality and expression is a good thing. Being outgoing and extroverted is a very American thing. British people are very introverted. Americans, after things like the Bill of Rights, have a strong focus on their personal rights and freedoms and liberty. In America, all men are created equal, and so they don't have this idea that you're better than me or I'm better than you by birthright. We're all humans, we all exist, and we all deserve respect. And so this leads to...
I don't want to add, I think there's another layer that he's missing, which, I mean, I guess you can't really do that in the video, but I think, they're racial differences as well. But I think but I'm just saying, he's saying all men are created equal, but there's also some undertones of that because that didn't include slaves, etc. But just throwing that in there.
Politics and the attitude toward authority.
This is an illegal detention at this point. You better get your shit straight. Oh, I will file a complaint. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Right as soon as we leave here.
Am I not human to you, huh? Americans are inherently very skeptical of authority. They believe more so in small government and self-autonomy due to the British ruling America and, being a bit naughty, a bit rough around the edges. As well, Americans are very rebellious. The formation of America was around escaping the Church of England. In Britain, on the other hand, it is different. We do have a trust in our government. It is waning currently, but typically we trust in social order and we don't really make too much of a big deal about infringement of our rights. And that's probably because of years of...
That's something I wish Brits would be a little bit more touchy on. They sort of trust in the government a little bit too much. I don't know, more and more things keep coming out that infringe on what we can do. Also, for example, they bring out speed cameras saying it protects on safety, and it might do in some cases, but a lot of the times it's after the revenue. It's not after the And so but Brits all defend it. You'll see them on Facebook and Twitter going, "Oh, that's brilliant! It's going to save lives," and it's but they've put it in a place that only sheep If you put that speed camera outside of a school, I 100% get it. But you're putting it in on a country lane, miles from anywhere. That's who are you protecting?
That might be where it comes from, what he's saying.
Yeah, and I think the authority's taking a little bit too much control now, and the more rights you have
guys
taken
like
away.
Order and structure. Like I said, it's structure. Like everything is order and structure. And I think maybe you view the government as being able to execute on that order and structure, whereas like Americans are like, don't tell us what to do. Even our government don't tell us what to do.
I think we just let them get away with a little bit too much now, and it's like the more you give up, you're never seeing those rights again.
Yeah.
Or unless there's like some kind of revolution, but we don't want that.
Unquestioned power by monarchs. And again, the stoicism and the idea of stiff upper lip, not complaining too much, not making a big deal. It kind of has led to this polite, submissive behaviour, which sometimes is a bit embarrassing.
Careful, sir, it's hot. Oh, sorry, might burn yourself. Yeah, sorry. Would you like some salt and pepper? Oh, yeah, sorry.
Like, you can kind of picture the movie scene of a British person, an American person dealing with authority. Excuse me, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Listen here, tough guy. You don't talk to me like that. Excuse me, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Oh, yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, that's fine. We'll leave, for sure.
But darling, your dad owns a restaurant.
Yes, but I don't want to be rude. And so with all this, you can extrapolate these attitudes and understand different attitudes towards certain issues. You know, for instance, guns. Americans see guns as like a right to protect themselves from the government and other people. America's fast food and subsequent obesity problem has stemmed from the ideas of efficiency in business. Not wanting to waste time on food, taking too long to cook. And then you have things like healthcare and welfare. Like in Britain, we have a pretty strong healthcare system. Let's not get into that. Whereas Americans are far more reserved on bringing anything into public domain, especially healthcare. Britain has an obsession with tradition and upholding tradition, whereas America have a strong focus on new and innovation, new products, technology.
By making the screen taller, but not wider, you can see more of your content without the need to scroll. We're making scrolling a thing of the past.
And so look, I've picked apart British people and American people. I've made jokes, I've pointed out some bad things, but I want to say, and I think this is true, Americans and British people have a very deep mutual respect for each other. I think very much these days, ever since the war, we've had what has been dubbed a special relationship. I don't know if that's a gay thing or something, but whatever. As a Brit, I can say honestly, I really do love Americans. I love being around Americans. I really admire their confidence. They're so easy to talk to. They're very warm, open, demeaned.
I just want to harp on this because I follow his sentiment directly. I have a massive respect for Americans, and I know I say the stuff I do. I'm not 100% critical of Americans. I point out the negatives, but just as much as Americans would point out the negatives about us, because I know there is like they would point them out, but like it's mutual. Like I'd give you guys as much shit as you'd give me. Yeah, and there is a massive respect behind that. I mean, you guys have a lot of problems. I'm saying this as if I'm talking to Americans. Just as much as we have a lot of problems too. The only thing that bothers me that I don't really think we have here, is that it seems to me like a lot of Americans don't want to admit there is a problem. Like it's almost un-American or unpatriotic to say there's a problem with the country. A lot of the times, not always. But it
might need to get like really bad before it gets better, or before anyone admits anything's wrong. Like you're kind of just sweeping things under the rug, but we'll see what happens.
Because British people can be very reserved at times.
Excuse me, young man, is anyone sitting here? No. Would you mind if we sat here? No, it's fine. I'm Ronald. This is Tammy. Actually, you forgot to tell us your name. Peter.
It can be pretty depressing talking with British people about the future.
That's exactly what Americans can be like as well.
Oh my goodness, you should tell the story about like when your mom and your sister were in Orlando.
That's exactly what I'm thinking about.
So his mom and his sister were in Orlando, and I think, were you there as well? Or
no, I was with you.
So it was just his mom and his sister, and they were at like some restaurant, and the girl or guy introduced themselves, and let's say, "Hi, I'm John," and like the guy at the table, the waitress, so it was a girl.
Was like, "Hi, I don't know, Kirsty, I'll be your server tonight." Like they call themselves servers instead of waitresses. But I'll be your server tonight. Is there anything? Let me know if there's anything I can get you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like a Brit would just be like, "Oh, that's great, thanks. We'll order these drinks or whatever. You know, maybe nice to meet you or something." And then they'd walk off. But like instead, it was like the American guy was like, "Oh, hi, I'm John, and this is my friend here," and they're all like shaking hands and like, "And this is my friend here, and we'll be here tonight to stay and watch the game." And it's like, why are you announcing this? Like,
but I feel like
you're about to enter the ring.
I think if he was in England,
introducing.
If he was in England, that would be a problem. But I feel like sometimes, like Americans like that. Even I don't know if the waitress appreciated that, but sometimes it is good conversation.
She's thinking, I'm getting a tip.
Yeah, yes. There we go. Like if she's like very optimistic, she'll also get rewarded, I guess, in some way.
Oh God, Brits! Like they're gonna like tip the whatever it says on the receipt.
It's gonna be like 50 cents. Because they don't tip in their culture, for those of you guys who don't know or not aware.
In Europe as well.
Oh,
in
Europe.
You can tip if you really felt like it was exceptional service, but we pay our people a living wage, so typically we don't.
Oh gosh, here we go. Shots fired. Shots fired.
Let's not get into the deepness of this. But.
Ambitions. As Americans are all patting you on the back saying, yeah, you can do it, bro. And I think Americans do appreciate British people as well. They probably appreciate our realism. We don't really bullshit ourselves. We're very honest. We know our strengths, but we also know our flaws. Often Americans see us as well-spoken and intelligent, and you can actually see our comedy has massively influenced modern American comedy. There's a lot more awkward, dry humor in American television now than there ever was in the past. And obviously, Americans fucking love our traditions, arguably more than us. And it leads me to a final thought, and that is about cultural homogenization. With the internet, culture across the world has sort of melted together. We're all seeing the same media constantly. I will listen to endless American podcasters telling me to go after my dreams and fix my life or something. The idea that the internet is bringing lots of different value systems together and you can kind of choose which one suits you as opposed just the one that dominates your country. But I do wonder, are we going to see less of these interesting differences and are we just going to become a sort of best of greatest album kind of thing? Let me know in the comments if you want to see more on this topic. Check out the afters.
Yeah, so I think that was a little bit...
I think he did a good job.
I think that video
he did a really good job.
Well edited and played out. But
and we've talked about this. Like we always have discussions about like just cultural differences between ourselves, and I think a lot of what he was touching on is what we've also.
The first I want to say 2 years, but we're not quite at 2 years yet.
Yeah.
But, the first, at least year of our relationship, maybe first 8 months was literally, and maybe for 4 months previous to that, was literally just us talking about our differences.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? How do you feel about this? Like, and we'd have like whole discussions. And this is how we spend all our time on FaceTime, like all the time, or like how we did anyway.
Oh my goodness.
I
think we've come to understand each other, have an understanding, and I think he did a really good job of summing up like our understanding of each other's culture. So
he didn't
all in all,
bias or anything.
All in all, good video.
Yeah.
And I think we'll end it here, right, for our video.
Please let us know if there's any other videos like this that you want to see us react to. And maybe we might start a series out of this.
Yeah.
UK versus US, maybe different foods. I don't know. Cars or whatever.
We'll see. Tell us if you're interested in that in the comments. And if you like this video, don't forget to like it down below, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
There's coldness there, there's karma. There's heat, there's flames, there's lava. Volcanic, what can we do? It gets manic. I know what I'd rather. When I pick up the mic, it's power. When I pick up the mic, got powers. When I pick up the mic, it's power. When I pick up the mic, got powers. Powers.